Hello and welcome to Beyond Partisanship. First of all, I want to apologize because I have a cold, which you can probably hear in my voice. But my name is Peter Van Valkenburg, and I just wanted to do a quick one today. Today I want to talk about the hearings that the Republicans have going on in the House regarding censorship. I'm just going to read from me something that I wrote. Since I'm sick, I'll just do it quickly. Okay, I'm in an article where I'm addressing the hearings. I go, I'm upset with Democrats for censoring, defaming, and punishing people for dissent. However, I'm not endorsing Republicans either. Take the current hearings that Republicans are holding. I applaud these very important hearings, but there's a negative side to these hearings that I will elaborate as well. The positive part is that our government should be transparent, and it should never censor speech except in accordance with the Constitution. It's not very subjective as to what constitutes illegal, anti-democratic, and hence anti-American censorship. One need only visit the Supreme Court record of rulings on the First Amendment. In addition, the government should err on the side of more free speech when in doubt. Free speech and expression is the most foundational principle of our democracy. This issue is much more important than January 6th or any other issue, because without free speech, we don't have a democracy. The negative side of the Republican hearings is in their intent, which is both noble and ignoble. The part that isn't noble is that which seeks a political advantage, which, though understandable, also undermines our democracy. Specifically, let me address the COVID-19 origin investigation. They called witnesses who favor the lab leak theory. A proper investigation would include those who favor lab leak theory, but also those who think a lab leak theory is unlikely. I can think of at least two witnesses crucial to this investigation who are not present at those hearings. One of whom was the scientist who gave us the genetic data on the virus straight from Wuhan. I'm not saying that he has the answer, but he had key evidence. He's the guy that got I guess it's the genetic code from a Chinese scientist in China, who was a very brave individual who got in trouble for giving us that code. That code enabled us to come up with initial tests for COVID-19. And so they're very important to combating the pandemic. What's more, scientists on both sides should reconcile and work together to try to find the true answer, which still remains unknown. Both sides, if worth their scientific label or title, should be willing to conclude or concede that either hypothesis is possibly true, despite their current leanings as to which they think is most probably true now. I think it's clear that scientists legitimately believe that the lab leak theory is unlikely, and other scientists legitimately and sincerely believe that it is likely. They need to get together and put down and stop being immature, and they need to discuss it, and they should try to find the truth. It doesn't matter which is true or which isn't true. They shouldn't rule out one possibility or the other, which did happen, and they should be open-minded to find out whatever the truth is. We don't know right now, so people that go around saying, see, I told you it was the lab leak. We don't know that. We don't know whether it's the lab leak or whether it happened in the wet market or if it started somewhere else. I mean, there's evidence that suggests it started in the wet market, but there's also good reason to think maybe it could have had something to do with the Wuhan lab. We don't know until we're open-minded and are willing to consider both possibilities. So Republicans are as bad as the Democrats when it comes to favoring a political motive during their investigations. So we should always have that in mind as we watch these investigations. However, the Republicans, thank God, are not as in favor of censorship, though some of them have attempted to engage in censorship too, including Trump. What flabbergasts me is the degree and openness with which so many Democratic politicians and individuals associated with the press and academic institutions have embraced censorship and embraced state power in crushing dissent. This truly breaks my heart because I love academia. I love, I have an MA in teaching, and I would, if I could do what I wanted to do, I would be teaching in the colleges right now. So I said, many of my colleagues and friends, hell, the town that I live in the area that I live in, are predominantly Democrat and full of people that are left of center to far left, and with a few scattering conservatives and libertarians, but I live in a very democratic blue area. I love many of these folks, and it's so disappointing to see some of them embrace censorship, and others just sit silently without condemning censorship. I mean, the left should be up in arms about this just as much as the right. To that point, the Republican hearings featuring Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberg are absolutely essential for our democracy, and I'm so happy they're happening. This is an issue that we must get to the bottom of if there is any hope for our democracy, and I believe there is hope. What has occurred over the past 10 years, and perhaps the last 3 years in particular, has been incredibly dangerous and involves the suppression of free speech, not only of many conservatives, but also of a lot of leftists. The censorship has been overwhelming in favor of those in political power, both in government and in critical social institutions like universities and government agencies that wield undemocratic power, such as the FBI, CIA, and other typical bureaus that are much more obscure bureaus. So I'm not picking on the FBI and CIA, but there's so many people taking advantage of this censorship, directly or indirectly, intentionally or unintentionally. They're engaging in it, and it has to stop. They rationalize it by calling it disinformation or malinformation and so forth, but that's inexcusable. We can't have that in our society. We just can't. And I really encourage people to watch these hearings and listen to the opening with Matt Taibbi. He has a brilliant opening in there. He's accused of the leading Democratic congressperson of being of being not a real journalist. And he's been a journalist for over 30 years. Listen to him. And also they're accusing him of being like a conservative, which is absurd. He's been liberal, left-wing all his life. Democrats and Republicans together, along with the 60 to 70% of growing independents, that's an assumption, I don't know that number for sure, should embrace this issue together and bring it all out into the light of day to be cleansed by the disinfectant of light and transparency. Let's all acknowledge our mistakes and humbly agree to make it transparent. And let's recommit to our core values of openness, transparency, and free expression. Let's rebuild the foundations of democracy as a first step prior to engaging in debate and disagreement over policies. Without these fundamental tenets and principles, we have no democracy. We have no country. This insanity must end. And it starts not by blaming others, but by shaking hands of agreement on these fundamentals of democracy. It's true that this process of cleansing will reveal bad actions and actors that will include prominent Democrats and Republicans. It will include Biden and it will include Trump. But the goal isn't to blame others, but to endeavor not to do it anymore. No more censorship, repression, and defamation or destruction of individuals for the crime of having an opinion or providing actual facts that counter a political narrative or mainstream narrative. I don't want Biden to be impeached or anybody punished for these past wrongs. I want them to stop committing these wrongs. We should demand that our representatives reaffirm and embrace these values of openness, transparency, and free expression, especially the freedom to dissent. Again, you know, this has to be, as the title of my channel is, an issue that's beyond partisanship. This is foundational to our democracy as Americans, and we need to fix it. Thank you.